Welcome to the Plan B CRNA podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and I'm so excited that you're here. The Plan B CRNA podcast is the only show made specifically for nurse anesthetists who are exploring options outside of their traditional career paths. This is the place to expand your mind and your goals as we uncover new ways to produce side income together. Journey with me as I go down various rabbit holes to explore the best Plan B options for you. This episode is brought to you by On-Call Capital. On-Call Capital is dedicated to educating CRNAs and other healthcare providers about investing outside of the traditional stock market. On-Call Capital also provides opportunities for you, yes, you, to create passive income and generational wealth while also lowering your taxable income through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, make sure you do that right now so that you don't miss an episode. Thanks so much for joining me today, and now, on with the show. Welcome to the rabbit hole on the Plan B CRNA podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and throughout my journey in finding a Plan B, I've gone down numerous rabbit holes to figure out which ones work for me. And since I've done some of this research already, I only think it's right to bring that information to fellow healthcare professionals to help aid in your own search. As always, it's important for you, the listener, to do your own research and form your own opinions. Everyone's situation is unique, and a Plan B that works for one CRNA doesn't always work for another. Self-awareness is the key in any decision you make, since you must have an accurate grasp of your own strengths, weaknesses, and goals. And today's topic is one that I've seen pop up in several online forums, including some of the CRNA forums as well. Our rabbit hole of the day is, dun, 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 laundromats. I've seen this, like I said, in several different discussions and message boards over the last few years. And it turns out laundromats are actually a pretty great return on investment, right? They have a high success rate. They're an essential business. They're recession resistant, so on and so forth. I mean, you know the drill. But I was intrigued by this business that seemed on the surface to be too good to be true. So, of course, I decided to look further into it. Let's dive into the numbers, shall we? Finding consistent numbers for the laundromat industry is a bit tricky because some of those include dry cleaning businesses as well, and others don't. And many of the reports are not actually available for free. They can cost anywhere between $200 to $1,000 to purchase a simple report. But from what I can discern, globally speaking, coin-operated laundries are expected to be a $30 billion industry by the year 2027, with a compound annual growth rate of 9.4% from 2020 to 2027. Specifically in the US, though, it's a bit of a different story. There are somewhere between 21,000 to 30,000 laundromats operating in the US, but the industry is actually decreasing at an annualized rate of 1.3%. That was from 2017 to 2022, shrinking it down to $5.5 billion, and with further declines expected over the next 5 years. This is due in part to rising disposable income, which fuels competition from more expensive substitute services, such as wash and fold services that cut into industry revenue. Low-income renters are the primary users of coin laundries, with a median customer household income of just $28,000. More than 60% of patronage also comes from women. 87% of customers live within a mile of the facility, making location an important feature. And 90% of patrons become repeat customers. Just because the industry is shrinking, though, doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities out there. The laundry industry has a 20 to 35% return on investment, which is much higher than many other industries out there. The 5-year survival rate is also around 95%, according to Speed Queen, meaning that once you get in, this is a highly stable industry. You can expect to spend an average of $200,000 to $500,000 or more to purchase an open an average-sized laundromat. But there are business and commercial loans out there to help you with that process. On bizbuysell.com, I found laundromats for sale between $150,000 to $1.45 million in the Tampa Bay area, with plenty of them below $400,000 for purchase. The expenses that you're going to incur are largely due to the need for that commercial grade equipment, with each new machine costing an average of between $800 to $2,600 and lasting between 10 to 15 years. The typical laundromat is between 1,000 to 5,000 square feet with between 40 to 100 washers and dryers. So that expense alone is significant. But once costs are factored in, along with potential repairs, the higher end of net profits could be as high as $350,000 per year in largely passive income, although there is wide variance here depending on location and customer base. Another stat that I thought was significant is this one. About 36% of laundromat investors consider their store a part-time job, with 63% considering it a full-time job. That means that about a third of investors view this as a side gig or source of somewhat passive income. According to Entrepreneur, this ratio is actually closer to 50-50, which is even better for you when looking at this as a potential side gig. So how can you get started? Well, first, you'll need to learn about the industry. The Coin Laundry Association, the Textile Rental Services Association, and IBIS World are great resources, although you may need to pay for some of those memberships and reports. You'll also want to have an idea of the type of business you want to get into. The different types of laundry businesses are, number one, coin laundry. Everybody knows about laundromats. Number two, private laundromat equipment for multi-tenant buildings. Number three, wash and fold services. Number four, commercial laundry for uniforms, linens, and facilities. And number five, additional services such as pickup and delivery. Now, for our purposes today, we're going to just really focus in on coin laundry. Next, after this, you may want to look into some laundromat-specific training. That may include educating yourself on basic appliance repair at a nearby community college. You can also look into training resources in certain TRSA clean and safety certification programs. And once you've educated yourself, you'll still have your business model decisions that you're going to have to make. The industry itself is largely fragmented with few franchise players out there. I'll have an article link in the show notes to the top 7 franchises in the US. Maytag, Super Suds, the Eco Laundry Company, and Speed Queen are a few of those players that are out there. And some have liquid cash requirements as little as $75,000, while others are north of $300,000. Some have franchise fees that are around $30,000 or so, while others have none, which, of course, if you're paying a franchise fee, that can eat into some of your profits. But you also gain the benefits of experienced teams and systems along with potential funding partnerships. If you plan to go it alone, though, you do have some options. You can find a storefront and buy your own equipment, or you can purchase an existing laundromat from a potential seller. I personally suggest this latter route. So that's what I'm going to focus on today. And I have several reasons for this. There's generally more wiggle room with the sale price for you to find a deal. We're talking individual sellers and personal situations here. I found a blog online where the initial asking price for a laundromat was $150,000, but they ended up settling on the purchase price of only $105,000. So that's a significant difference there that they were able to knock off due to personal situations. Next is that you don't have dead time. You're not waiting for equipment to arrive and be installed. You're generally exempt from the cost of hooking up to a city's water and sewer because that's already been done. And the previous owner has already gone through that permitting process. So you just have to work on the transfer process of those permits. You have a lot of information up front when you're purchasing a business instead of trying to create it on your own. Power, water, utilities, and other costs are already known entities. You also have a built-in customer base as soon as you close on the facility as well. And of course, you still need to be careful. You may be inheriting old machines that need replacing. You may have an aging infrastructure, and you are also possibly inheriting the reputation of the previous owner. Now, next, you're going to need a business plan. There are tons of resources out there to help you with this part, including industry-specific guides. If you're purchasing an existing business, you'll have to tailor your business plan to that specific location. Now, the nice thing is that the current owner should provide you with their own numbers to give you an idea of what to expect when you get started. And you can use these numbers to build off of and identify areas of improvement. When you find a business to purchase, you'll need to perform your own due diligence. The Coin Laundry Association has a white paper about best practices for due diligence, so make sure you check that out. But you'll need to check the machines maintenance and utility costs, water usage, improvement costs, and overall profitability to make sure that this location fits your needs. Also, check the location. Is it in close proximity to grocery stores, pharmacies, apartment buildings, college students, and tourist areas? Are there any nearby competitors, and what are they charging compared to the business you intend to purchase? Pricing is normally dependent on the capacity of the machines that are in use. Now, when crafting your business plan, you'll want to include a marketing strategy. That may include creating a website, digital marketing, printed materials, and other amenities such as Wi-Fi, TVs, play areas, or massage chairs to increase value for customers. As with many of the opportunities we discussed, you'll have to figure out your business entity. LLCs, sole proprietorship, partnerships, corporations, and franchises. You'll have to choose one of those. And other business considerations that you'll have will include obtaining your employer identification number, accounting and bookkeeping, tax filing requirements, and industry-specific insurance requirements, and of course, money handling. Are you planning to have employees, or do you plan to manage things yourself? That can make the difference between a 10-hour per week gig or a job that takes up much more of your time. It can also affect your company's structure, as well as result in other federal labor and insurance implications. Now, if you settle on a price for a particular laundromat, then the next step is, of course, to make the offer. When you get to this point, it's important not to become emotionally attached to a particular opportunity. You are purchasing a business, and you don't want to fudge on your numbers to try to make something work that wasn't meant to be. Owners may be trying to retire or get out before a lot of upcoming capital improvement needs. Are you being charged a premium that you don't really need to pay? You have to watch out for yourself out there. And once your offer is accepted, it's a matter of settling into the routine of owning your own business. Many laundromat owners report that the amount of time they spend on the business is actually more than they anticipated, whether that's 10 to 20 hours per week or full-time. Establishing sound systems and delegating tasks to potential staff can help you achieve your goal to be more hands-off. Just keep in mind that you do own an actual business, and that requires some amount of your time to keep running. And now that we've discussed how to get started with your own laundromat, it's time for my favorite part of the show, pros and cons. First is a pro, high return on investment and success rates. Like I mentioned before, a 20 to 35% ROI is really good, and the 5-year success rate for laundromats is 95%. Next is a con, startup costs. These can be substantial. Yes, there's flexible financing available, but banks can be a headache to deal with. Either way, you're going to be taking on risk when you get started with this venture, whether that's through additional capital needs or taking out loans that you're going to ultimately have to pay back. Next is a pro, flexibility. You can largely set your own hours, and it's unlikely that you'll be needed for full-time hours for this. Con, though, is unpredictable demands. Owners must be flexible and able to respond to emergency situations whenever they occur. This is a customer service business, which means you may be on call more than you'd actually like to be. Pro, recession resistance and no seasonal dependence. People need to do their laundry all year round, no matter the weather or economic situation. Con, competition. Depending on your location and demographics, you may have other laundromats to compete with. This can affect your profits as you spend more for marketing, amenities, and the like while adjusting your prices to compete. Pro, ease of management. Laundromat management systems have made it easier to manage these businesses, and coinless payment options and cloud-based monitoring reduce the need for on-site management while simplifying record keeping and accuracy. Con, customers. Yeah, you have to deal with people, even when you don't want to. Pro, potential for multiple locations and expansion. Due to the flexibility, versatility, and necessity of the laundry industry, you may be able to find opportunities for growth, whether that's by opening another location in your city, expanding your current facility, or offering additional services. Con, you rely on the potentially disadvantaged for income. While you are providing a valuable and necessary service, some may find that relying on the lower class for income is kind of unsavory. It's just something to keep in mind here. Pro, minimal inventory requirements. Unlike traditional retail businesses, laundromats don't have much physical inventory. This translates into easier management and less headaches when there are potential product shortages. Con, you have to be a jack of all trades. You're an entrepreneur, marketer, janitor, handyman, plumber, and electrician. That doesn't require expertise per se, but it does require some level of proficiency. You can partner with trusted distributors to help with this, but then again, that eats into your profits. And one last pro, a great community. There are a number of community resources from distributors and manufacturers to owners and investors. I've mentioned the Coin Laundry Association, but there's also the American Coin Op, as well as other resources for potential owners to lean on. As you can see, there's a lot to like about buying and owning your own laundromat. No, it's not foolproof. I've seen enough online forums where folks bit off more than they could chew. But with proper preparation and due diligence, along with a bit of your free time, you can set up a really nice additional stream of income for you and your family. I always suggest doing your own research before making an investment, and owning a laundromat is no exception to that. There are so many other considerations that I haven't even begun to touch on, such as revenue from multiple streams. You'll probably make the most of your income from self-service, but you can find additional revenue from wash and fold services, delivery, commercial contracts, ATMs, and vending machines. There's also coin collection. We haven't even talked about how you're going to do that. Tank versus tankless water heaters. Ozone injections that help improve the cleaning effect of cold water. Laundry apps such as DexterPay, Speed Queen Value Center, or other delivery apps. And of course, card readers and merchant contracts. Now, I've included several links in the show notes for you, but here are some books that I would recommend to check out as well. The Laundromat Business Startup, How to Start, Run, and Grow a Successful Washeteria Business by Rebecca Wilson. Secrets Revealed to Opening Laundromats, My Mistakes, Your Opportunity to Learn by Victor R. Nichols. And Laundromat Ownership Step by Step, A Realistic Guide to Opening and Growing Laundromats by Joseph Haywood. And that's going to do it for the show today. As always, I'd like to thank you for listening to the Plan B CRNA podcast. If you found value today, make sure you hit subscribe and give us a 5-star review. The show only grows because of you, so make sure you share it with a friend, family member, or colleague to help them on their passive income journey. I also want to hear from you. If you have a question, comment, or rabbit hole topic that you'd like me to cover in an upcoming show, make sure you just put it in your review of the podcast. I check those all the time, and I cover those questions in future episodes. If you'd like to know more about me and gain access to passive investment opportunities, make sure you find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or visit my website at www.oncallinvestments.com. This is Bobby Jones signing off. Until next time, be safe and take care of each other out there. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Plan B CRNA podcast. If you haven't already subscribed and reviewed the show, I'd be honored if you took the extra time. It really helps to expand our reach and get the word out about the show. If you're a CRNA who is interested in sharing your story on our podcast, I'd love to have you. Please email me at bobby@oncallinvestments.com for more information. This episode was brought to you by On Call Capital. They are dedicated to helping providers like you develop passive income and generational wealth through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. Feel free to check out their website at www.oncallinvestments.com and subscribe to their free educational email series. You can find On Call Capital on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also check out our YouTube page, where you'll find all of the show episodes along with other educational videos. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.